Went back to the negotiating table. But this time, the price had skyrocketed to an astronomical $5 billion. So, faced with this massive $5 billion price tag, what did Yahoo do? Well, they backed out once more. The sticker shock was just too much for them to swallow. By walking away from that table a second time, refusing to pay the new premium for a company they once could have had for absolute pennies, they cemented what turned into one of the biggest, most iconic mistakes in tech history.
Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking what is genuinely a story of monumental miscalculation. We're looking at the Yahoo oversight, a billion-dollar tech tragedy. This is an absolute masterclass in business strategy, missed opportunities, and just how fast the sands shift in the digital age. If you really want to understand how massive empires rise and fall in the tech sector, well, this is the definitive case study. So what is the most expensive mistake in tech history? It's a pretty provocative question, isn't it? Because when we think of massive corporate blunders, we usually picture, failed product launches, disastrous marketing campaigns, or some sudden technological shift that catches everyone off guard. But actually, the costliest errors usually aren't about what you built. They're about what you didn't buy when you have the chance. The story we're about to see unfold is just dripping with dramatic irony. And to truly grasp the scale of it, we need to rewind the clock. Section 1. The Early Digital King, Yahoo's Dominance. Back in the early days of the internet, Yahoo wasn't just another website. They were the undisputed king of the digital world. Literally millions upon millions of people relied on it for essentially their entire online existence. I mean, it was your go-to for search, your primary daily source for news, and your dominant email provider. They had this massive, captive audience that practically lived within their ecosystem every single day. But while Yahoo was operating as this giant, broad portal offering everything under the sun, there was this small upstart called Google brewing in the background. It was created by two young students, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Now, Google wasn't trying to be a portal. Unlike the others, they were hyper-focused on one single task: delivering the absolute most relevant search results using a highly powerful ranking system. So we've got two very different approaches to organizing the web here. Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 2, the $1 million miss, a tiny opportunity. Just look at that number, $1 million. In the world of tech giants, that's absolute pocket change, right? But around the year 2000, those two young students actually approached Yahoo. They offered to sell their small search engine, Google, to Yahoo for this exact amount, just $1 million. They were essentially handing the keys to the kingdom over on a silver platter. And here is the tragic flaw in Yahoo's reasoning. They rejected the deal. Why? Because they simply didn't see the tiny search engine as a big opportunity. Despite millions of people relying on Yahoo for search at the time, their leadership looked at Google's powerful ranking system and just decided it wasn't worth a $1 million investment. They completely failed to recognize the value of what was sitting right in front of them. Section 3 of 5 billion regret, the cost of hesitation. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens next. After that initial rejection, Google didn't just quietly fade away. They started growing at an astonishingly rapid pace. Just a few years after scoffing at a $1 million price tag, Yahoo realized their mistake and went back to the negotiating table. But this time, the price had skyrocketed to an astronomical $5 billion. So, faced with this massive $5 billion price tag, what did Yahoo do? Well, they backed out once more. The sticker shock was just too much for them to swallow. By walking away from that table a second time, refusing to pay the new premium for a company they once could have had for absolute pennies, they cemented what turned into one of the biggest, most iconic mistakes in tech history. Section 4, the ultimate tech tragedy. The aftermath today. The anatomy of this tech tragedy is basically a painful cascade of missed chances. We start in the early days where Yahoo indisputably rules the internet. Then, around 2000, you have the first fatal error, rejecting that $1 million offer. A few years later, we see the compound error, backing out of the $5 billion deal, which, of course, inevitably leads us right to today. So the crucial point is comparing these two realities. Today, Google completely dominates the internet. Their powerful ranking system became the absolute foundation of the modern digital experience. And Yahoo, the one-time king of the digital world, lost its former power, falling behind entirely because of those key decisions at the turn of the century. Which brings us to the profound, really practical takeaway of this explainer. The biggest mistake isn't making the wrong move, but failing to recognize the right opportunity at the right time. You see, Yahoo didn't fail because they actively destroyed their own products. They failed because they suffered from a fatal lack of vision. They had the right opportunity, a revolutionary search engine for just $1 million sitting right in front of them, but they failed to recognize it until it was far, far too late.
So, as we wrap up our analysis of this billion-dollar oversight, I really want to leave you with a final thought. In your own life, your career, your business, are you failing to recognize the right opportunity at the right time? Or are you maybe dismissing some small, hyper-focused idea today that could become the dominant force of tomorrow? Keep your eyes open and always be willing to truly evaluate what's right in front of you, because you never know when your million-dollar opportunity might be knocking. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it sparked some curiosity, and I'll see you next time.